Hi, welcome back to another episode of Story with Alu Cherry, where we talk about love for ourselves, love for family, love for friends, and love for life in general. So on today's episode, we are going to focus on motherhood, since it is May, and it is a month whereby we celebrate mothers. Yes, and so on my episode on motherhood today, we are going to focus about things you just learn about motherhood, and everything involving being a mother after loss of a mother or something. Yeah, and today's episode is also bringing us to a fact that sometimes in life we get a chance to celebrate things when we've lost them. We actually understand. I don't know if it's an African thing or it's whatever it is. We just find the value of something when we lose it. You value your partner after maybe they've left. You value your children after they've left, and everything. Yeah, and what has inspired this episode is that, like, this year, I was just it reached that date where my mom died, and I was like, I was counting how many years has it been, and I'm like, wow, it's been 7 years, and 7 years is such a long time. If someone was born 7 years ago, right now, as much as they are children who can take care of most things on their own. They can bet on their own and everything. Yeah, so that's what inspired this episode. And so first, I will talk about what mothers are, who mothers are generally. And the first point is that mothers are love. Like, the love of a mother is so different, it is so unique. It does not need to be paid for. It does not, you don't need to remind your mother to love you in most cases. Yeah, because we also understand there are people who come from toxic backgrounds and everything, but naturally a mother is not reminded to love their children. You even find mothers with children with special needs, and those children are loved. And you even find children who are just troublesome. They're expelled from school and everything, and yet they are really loved at home. And so a mother's love is so important, in the sense that a mother's love overshadows every other hate in the background. And when you know that you're loved at home, every other love does not matter. It doesn't matter whether people will hate you or do what. If they don't care about you, you know that you're cared for at home. And so I think I only understood the weight of a mother's love after, like, my mom left, and I was like, hey guy, so you people are this bad in this country. Yeah, and being that the mother's love is not there, the hate now becomes so loud, because you haven't been told how you're loved. You have not felt the love. The people who hate you it becomes so loud, it becomes so clear, and you just see it, and you're like, and it is a matter of fact, it is something that you were not used to, and it is new. It is just so disturbing. You didn't call for it, and everything else. So after in these 7 years, I've just learned that a mother's love is so important. When your mom loves you, it won't. When you're loved at home, it won't matter who doesn't like you, what is not working. You will just know that you are taken care of. Yeah. And so the next thing that changes about life is that prayer. You know, the way people say that it's my mom's prayers that are covering me. And so when there is a gap in motherhood, meaning your mom is not there to cover you, so you have to cover yourself. As a Christian, I believe so much in prayer. Yeah, and so I believe that there should be a voice always speaking good of you, speaking positively, speaking better things over your life, because there are so many people, there are so many energies out there that are already negative. So that place of prayer shouldn't be blank. And in most cases, when there is no mother, it will actually be blank. You know, in life where you sit down and in this, I don't want to call it a normal thing, but there are just days when you won't feel like praying, of which you should pray even when you don't feel like, but sometimes it just happens. You don't feel the energy, you don't feel, there are just so many spiritual energies around you that are fighting prayer. And in such cases, way back, I was like, hey, it is fine. Even if I do not pray, my mother is somewhere covering me in prayer. But when I noticed that is missing, I was like, guy, yeah, it was something. And also when there was a gap in my motherhood, I began feeling like I was in this world illegally. And this is because, you know, it's a mother that brings you in this world. It's a mother that births you in this world. The first people you experience in this world, number one, it's your mother. The first person you will actually experience, it's your mother, because they will bring you to life. And so I began even feeling like, hey, if the person who at all brought me in this world is not around, then why should I be here? And at some point I began feeling like, hey, if someone has never been suicidal, they can't just tell me anything, because it reached at that point where you're like, hey, I better just join them. Yeah, and it is a bad place when the world, when you being in the world begins feeling like illegal. And how I overcame that is that I realized that she lived her life and she accomplished her purpose on earth, and I learned that I also have a purpose on this earth. And I was like, wow, I am so excited. And without lying, I won't just say that I was an encouragement to myself, but the fact that I am also a mother right now also played a role of just balancing life for me, because I thought, if I am this miserable, yet I was only left 7 years ago, what happens to my child if I leave them right now? How will the world be with them? Will my daughter feel like this? And maybe it will even be worse, because I would have left them younger. Yeah, and so it just came from a point of just encouraging myself, yes, and everything. And also I noticed that the last thing I noticed is that I lost a cheerleader. When a baby is small, the first time they mumble some words, and the mother is like, "Hey, you're doing so well." Like every time you do something, it might not require a lot of effort. It might not even be an achievement, but your mom will be there just celebrating you and just making you feel like you're in the right place and everything. You've done everything right. And without lying, my mom was like the best cheerleader. She would celebrate our wins, even the smallest, the tiniest, the ones you thought wouldn't even matter to her. Imagine they mattered. Every time you would go to church and say a memory verse, she will be so proud of you. Every time you just even washed your utensils, she would really celebrate you. And so you notice that other people really don't care, and it's not their fault that they don't care. It's just that motherhood takes a lot from us. For example, if you are to be a mother, God will take his time and prepare you for 9 months, and the fact that your mom is not here, it means that the person who was prepared to take care of you is not here. So the rest of the people who are here, they are not prepared for you. They don't have that capacity for holding you. Not saying that they won't, they try, but they are just not there 100%, and we applaud them. But it is something for you who doesn't have a mother to figure out that it is actually not their duty, that they are just doing you a favor, or God has placed them in that capacity in that particular time. And maybe next time God will bring someone else, and next time, as long as you do not have a mother, your next mother is God. You see the way they say, when you don't have help actually comes from God, because God can use anyone at any given point. It doesn't mean that the one he used today is the one he will use tomorrow. The people he uses can change. It is only that you will constantly find help. Yeah, and in that cheerleading, I noticed you won't have a cheerleader, but you will actually, you won't just like people bad mouthing you for no particular reason. People will encourage their children, and everything. They will encourage their children and empower them, and just come and badmouth you. And it's not that they are bad people. It is just that we are human beings, and we are bound to fail. Yeah. And on that note, I also noticed that I've just been losing memory of a lot of things that are happening, just because it was 7 years ago. And so I came up with episodes in my life where I was like so broken, where I felt like, guy, I wish you would be here. Yeah, and this is just a Mother's Day special episode. Yeah. So when I was in campus, that was the first days that I felt like, hey, she should be here. guys, when the semester was coming to an end and everyone was just anticipating, oh, how will home be like, how we are finally going home to eat from our parents' pots and everything, and I'll just be there and I'm like, it's another time to go just fit myself in people's families, and it will be so draining. The thought of it, you sit down and think, guy, I'm going to be an added member again in that other family. Yes, they have accepted you and everything, but that's not just how you used to life. So it was really draining for me. I will be studying for my end semester exams, and at the same time I'm just worried. How am I going to spend the next 1 month? Where am I going to spend the next 3 months? How will it be? Will it be healthy for me? How will I even come back to school? Yeah, it was so hectic, but we thank God we overcame. And the second episode was when we were doing our project, our final year project. And if you've ever been in that place, you notice that it projects, that period where you are submitting your projects and everything, it's a very tough season, because especially if you are a science student, because your projects need to work, and sometimes those codes just don't run and you're stressed and everything. So we were with my coursemate, and he was like, hey, by the way, my project is not working, how about yours? I was like, mine is also not working. We were just relaxing and thinking about it, how it will work. So he left for some time, and then when he came back, he was like, and by the way, I'm not just worried anymore, because I've spoke to my mom, and she's praying for me, and I know it will be well. And he left. Guys, I was broken. I was so broken that I cried that whole night just thinking about it, and thinking about her. If she was here, maybe I would also have talked to her. Not maybe, I would actually have talked to her, and I wouldn't be feeling the way I was feeling. The next one was when we were preparing for our graduation. So we've made it through the list and everything, and so we are ready for our graduation, and all my friends are like, hey, by the way, my mom has asked for my graduation budget. She's asking for the shoes I will wear, the dress, the color of cake I want. And I was just like, hey, you are not sure, you are at a point of your life where it should be a happy moment, but it is not, because people who would have made it better are not around. Yeah, I'm just talking about this for documentary purposes, so that I just don't forget. Yeah. The next one was when I was expecting, guy, and I think that was one of the worst moments, because I thought it was only her who could understand me, and number two, it was only I think she's the only person who I would have confided in that period, and she wasn't there. And so starting to explain yourself to other people is a little bit difficult, because they just don't get you the way your mom would get you. And so it was such a difficult period, and just recognizing that actually this is what she went through in bringing me in this world. Yeah, that was just something else, and it was so draining. And the way when you're expectant, you have scary dreams. I don't know if it only happens to me, but that is what was happening at that particular period. I used to dream weird things, and you want someone to confide in, to help you, to show you how to go about things, and you just have to keep on guessing things. And I'm like, if this life has a manual, then a manual has to be a mother. But then, yeah, life happens. The next one was, I think when I needed career guidance and job recommendations, and you will hear like, hey, for me, my parent has said I should add this course. She will find money and then take me to a postgraduate diploma, and I was just there. I couldn't even figure out what the next step in life was, and also coming to from a position where most of the people that I graduated with were like, oh, but then my parents have said they will give me money for business and everything. It was only fair for their parents to do that, because the rate of unemployment right now in Kenya is just so high. Yeah, and I was just there, just finding my balance in life, and that was such a hectic place to be. And so that period of joblessness, I also noticed that there was nobody just to understand why is this happening to you, to walk you through it, to guide you that this happens to like 90% of graduates in the world. And I was just like, this is new, I just don't know how to go about it. And that period whereby you're not in school, you're not working, you're just there, and you need to survive, and yet there is just no way you could survive. It was so bad that you could hear people say, by the way, life has been so difficult. My mom had to send food from the village, and I was like, hey, kafa nyinyi, because I just felt like if she was here, this is exactly what she could have done, and she could even have done better, because I think during our life with her, I saw her be that mother to other people. She will step in, she will send food, she will console people, and I was constantly prepared of how my adulthood with her could look like, but then it didn't come out that way because life happened. Yeah. So the next time was, okay, and now in adulthood it is even worse, because when everyone is going home, let's say December holidays, Easter, or when you're just exhausted with life, also like marriage life has its own ups and downs, and sometimes you just feel like, hey, I just need to go back to my mom, take a breather, pour out my heart, get some advice, and then maybe I'll be energized and come back. But there is no such place at home, because you notice that home is not a place, home is a person, and the person is no longer there. And so it is just hard that you have to fight and fight and fight. And the last one, which actually happened so recently, is when my daughter was sick, and deep down I knew, if I can actually find traditional medicine, we will be done with this sickness. And it so happened that I woke up at 12 a.m. and looked at my baby, and she had all these rashes all over her body, and I was like, hey, who can I talk to? And you try to figure out stuff, and there is actually none. Yeah, and so I wish, like, if she would be here, I would have just called her, explained myself, and I would have gotten the medicine. Yeah, and without further ado, let's just cut that video from there so that it doesn't become emotional. Yeah, and all in all, we learn to survive with all these things I've mentioned, knowing that the person is not coming back. If you're in that hall where you're grieving your mother, now that you're talking about motherhood and it is me, if you're in that deep hole of darkness, of despair and everything, I think number one, you should recognize that the person you're grieving won't be coming back. So it is for you to stand up, pick the pieces of your life that are remaining, and just move on. Yes, until we meet again in another episode of Story with Alucheri. Bye.